Hi, I'm Randy Altman with Post Perspective. We're here with Keenan Mock from Light Iron. Welcome.
Thank you. Glad to be here.
We're here at the second day of NAB. I know that you haven't had a chance to take a look at a lot of stuff yet, but I'm going to pick your brain about that. But before we start, why don't you tell everybody what you do for Light Iron and what Light Iron is?
Sure. So my name's Keenan Mock. I'm an applications product manager at Light Iron. So Light Iron, we're a post-production company. We do dailies and finishing on episodic and feature films, and we've been owned by Panavision since 2015. We're an independent company before that. And we have offices, our main offices are in LA and New York. We also have satellite offices in Chicago and Atlanta and Vancouver and Albuquerque. And really with Panavision, there's 50, 60 worldwide locations or whatever. So wherever there's a show shooting in the world, we can roll out a system nearby to support the shooting of it, pipe the dailies back to wherever it's being finished, archive it, do the final color correction, finishing, mastering, delivery at the different locations. And so my job there is to look at what can be optimized and improved with software and automation, which is everything. So it's really a prioritization of which of those things we're going to do first versus second, evaluating build versus buy, and overseeing the implementation of the stuff we buy and the building of the stuff that we build. So this is right up my alley. This is like the big bet.
So how do you tackle a show like this? Do you have a list of things that you want to see?
Yeah, it's kind of both and. I mean, obviously everyone has people that they're meeting with already that they work with, vendors or customers or clients or whoever that they're meeting with here. And especially with COVID, the democratization of meetings via Zoom or Teams or you name it has really made it a lot easier to collaborate with people all over the globe. That said, I kind of feel like those sorts of interactions, the Zoom meetings, are kind of like your DoorDash order, and you're still going to want to go to the restaurant. Like, there's still no replacement for actually going there, being in person, having the experience, let alone, of course, all of the people from all around the world are here in this one room, effectively, or 5 or however big we are now.
Right.
And so,
but you were able to get a taste through DoorDash.
That's true. That's true.
And then you go in for the full.
Yeah. So half of it is that sort of a thing where it's meeting the people you're expecting to meet. But then I always make sure I have on my calendar blocks of time where I specifically don't have anything to do, because the other big thing about coming to these conventions is the stuff that you don't know that you're going to see. So something you'll stumble across, it's a brand new technology. First time I saw HDR was here. First time I saw 4K was here. That sort of a thing you're not going to see if you don't have any time to go and see it. So.
Exactly. So share with us what some of the, if you can name names, some of the things that you're looking to see and how it relates back to what you'd like to do back at the studio. Sure.
So I would say, stop me if this sounds familiar, but cloud workflows, containerization of processes, automation of processes. Everyone seems to be leaning into various cloud databases that are managing various workflows. Yep. And what we're interested in doing is, we're going to end up with one or a handful of those in and above what we already have, and so integrating them all together. So in addition to just being able to programmatically assign a workflow or programmatically create a workflow, is being able to programmatically create the workflow, pull the data out of it. So having an API is huge for us on any of these databases, so that we can pull all the data out, connect it into our own one, and be able to manage it from our own side of things. In terms of names that I've seen, I will say I had a pretty interesting meeting yesterday with the guys over at Mystica.
Okay.
Been around for a while, of course. They have some interesting products that I struggled with words when I was there as well, because there's so many different applications for it. It's like a platform on top of which you can do a lot of different things. So
and there's color grading in there. That's one aspect.
I don't think we would be using that for color grading. We would stick with Resolve and Baselight, which are the two products that we use for color grading. That's really artist driven, and I don't think they said themselves they're not looking to replace a Resolve or replace a Baselight.
But they'll play nicely with that.
Yeah, all the automated workflows around it, being able to automate doing the deliverables after you've done doing the color on it, that sort of a thing.
Gotcha.
is kind of what they're leaning into. It's kind of a very interesting workflow that they have set up called Workflows.
So in terms of the cloud, I don't know if you could share a percentage, but how much of the work that Lightiron does is cloud-based?
Well, what I would say is that we are doing all that we possibly can in the cloud, which is unfortunately still a relatively minor number because we are still controlled by what the studios and the production companies require. And if they have legacy, honestly outdated specs at this point that the fifth post supervisor on a show got from the person from them, they got from the person from them, and they just regurgitate it without thinking what's the actual best way of doing something. We still have to write 2 LTOs at the end of every shoot day. We still have to write, LTOs when we're finished delivering a movie. That said, we are working with a couple different companies and a couple different studios to lean into that cloud-based workflow. There's one project in particular that I can't name, but they are like, let's do everything we possibly can in the cloud. Let's break it. Let's see where the edges are to make it a proof of concept, to show the industry, hey, this is better. Hey, this is something that can actually work. I think I've said it before, but I went to a AWS event a couple of years ago where there was a guy there who was involved in security at AWS. And he was saying he had meetings with studio execs a number of years ago, and they said, I'm worried about going to the cloud because I'm scared of security.
Yes.
And then 2 years later, they came back to me, this is him talking, they came back to me and said, I really want to go to the cloud because I'm scared about security. So the paradigm is shifting, the paradigm is changing, and we are doing more and more in the cloud, and we are trying to do as much as we can. That is the future.
Okay, before I let you go,
Yep.
trends that you expect to see in the next year or two, and I'm not going to hold you to this, it will not come back at you.
Yeah, I mean, again, it's until we find the thing that no one would expect, the unknown, it's leaning into the cloud, it's leaning into collaboration, it's leaning into, remote workflows. Of course, COVID brought all the remote workflows. We have editors that are editing big movies and television shows that we're used to going into a facility to edit. During COVID, we supplied them with remote offline equipment at their home, and they never want to leave. Now, of course, there's still the others that hated that and still want to come back into the facility. But those sorts of workflows are, I don't think, ever going to go away.
Agreed.
And of course, then the storage for that and the systems for that are going to lean into. It's the Movie Labs 2030 vision, right?
Exactly.
Everything's going to go to the cloud, and then everything's going to come to the media in the cloud. It's leaning towards that for sure.
That's the future.
Yep.
Sure. Keenan, thank you for stopping by.
Always happy to be here.
Appreciate it. Yeah.